I'm just
Okay.
working on getting the value block in right now. Just going for the large shapes and trying to keep it simple so I can get that form to read quickly.
What's with the white box underneath your the picture of your still life?
Oh, that's just an empty space on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm on this tablecloth. I'm trying to keep the color harmony in the warms. So I'm pushing it just slightly, a little warmer than what I'm seeing. I just want to try and keep that really nice warm harmony that relates to everything. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that green gold, and that'll help differentiate it slightly. Might push it just a little bit more towards neutral, but still keep it warm on the warm side. Yeah, that's a little better. So I just cooled that down just slightly.
Is green gold like Indian yellow at all?
It has similar properties of being a transparent color. So it has that really nice, you can thin it down and get those nice transparent washes, and
Okay.
but it skews much more towards green. It's still, if you thin it out a lot, it looks almost yellow.
Okay.
But Indian yellow is a very, very almost more of an orangey yellow, I'd say, compared to this. Whereas this, you can push green colors with it. So
Okay.
it's a really nice flexible color. You can use it to make really vibrant greens, or you can add it to yellows. It's a really fun color to use. Now I'm going to mix a little bit of this kind of orangey color, so it's kind of bouncing off the pumpkin into the surrounding area. And that'll help feel like it all relates and is really reflecting that light into its surroundings.
So when it comes to reflections, we also need to be careful. Don't make it too sharp. Meaning,
Yeah.
like if you make the pumpkin too clear, it's gonna make the reflection surface more like shiny, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that could definitely be overdone really easily. So you have to be pretty reserved with it. But I found that especially with vibrant objects like maybe a red apple or like this, a pumpkin, it can bounce light into the surface. And when it's a white tablecloth like this, it catches a lot more of that light and it's more visible. So it helps it read.
Have you used any white in your mixing? And if so, what kind?
I've used a little bit of white, but I'm trying to hold off as much as I can at this stage because it can lead to the colors feeling cooler. Since I'm using a titanium white, so that pushes colors towards the cools. And since I'm trying to keep a warm color harmony, especially in the light, I'm trying to avoid it as much as I can at this stage, just because I know it will cool off my colors and I'll lose that nice warm feeling of warm light. And that could be a tricky thing because we get so used to mixing almost all our mixtures using white to push it lighter in value. But you have to be really careful, especially with that warm light source, that you're not overusing it. And I know there are some nice whites like warm whites, and sometimes they're called unbleached titanium white. That gives a warmer feeling to the light because I'm not sure if it's added, if there's pigment added, or if it's just not bleached, or how exactly it's made. But
anything I've seen, there's an added pigment to it.
Uh-huh.
I know a friend showed me, oh, look at this great white. And I looked at the back and I said, well, it's just got yellow added to it.
I didn't know that.
Why would you buy it?
Yeah. So that's a good point. I didn't realize that. But
well, the one we were looking at anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It can definitely vary from brand to brand, and just make sure you're checking the pigments that are added. so you know what's in it. But I know not a lot of artists, there are quite a few that still use it, but there's lead white, and that's a more transparent white, but you know, it has the downside of having lead in it. So it's really expensive, so not as commonly used.
How do you feel about adding a little zinc to the titanium?
I've heard, are there issues with the longevity of the paint film if you have zinc in it?
Well, there is, I understand, if you use the zinc alone, but
yeah.
But some people are using it 50-50 and 25-75.
Yeah, I think that's a good in between, because that provides a little of that zinc without having to completely rely on it. So I think some of the whites I use do have a little bit of it mixed in, but I don't know what the ratio is.
I know when I first started painting, I bought the zinc. I didn't know anything about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I really liked it.
Yeah.
It was good stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't like switching to the titanium afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I put a little bit in, but
yeah. I think it would work if you aren't going like completely zinc. But as far as I know it's an issue, but I think it's, if you use it, a lot of it, like extreme amounts of it, and it still lasts quite a while. So it's, some people still like to use it, but I've heard from different artists that there's possible issues with it. So I've just stuck with titanium. There's a little bit of yellow orange, just a really subtle amount in the shadow, and I think it's being bounced in from the pumpkin. But I don't want to push it too far. I'm gonna still try and keep it relatively close to the other shadow mixtures. Make sure I get this value dark enough on the edge over here on this little bathtub thing. And there's a shadow being cast from the branch here that kind of flows into that. I'll start developing that. Let's see here. And then I think I'm going to have to push this little wooden face, push that yellow a little bit. It feels like, I think it needs to be a little more vibrant, so I might have to use some cadmiums or some more intense yellow to get that to read correctly. And the value of this, even on the light side right here, is still fairly dark compared to the other objects in the scene. I'm just going to keep that in mind as I get that in. It's kind of a greenish orange in some areas. There's some variety to it. So
here we're at 5:51.
Okay.
So you know the time.
Yep, thanks.
And then I see some of you are painting along. If you want to show Jared your work, just feel free to put it in front of a camera and then he'll take a look.
Yeah, I'll just have to hop over because of my monitor.
On the other side.
Yeah. I keep trying to figure out how to have my setup so I can have everything in the right place, but then there's so many lights and different things. So
all right.
Yeah. I'm going to start to lighten the value of this tablecloth as it comes forward. So I'm starting to use some of that titanium white with maybe a little yellow ochre and some cad yellow. That looks better. Just trying to brighten that value slightly as it comes towards